Happy Wednesday. Gospel of John. Caiaphas made a prophecy. We talked about it yesterday. And the prophecy was that Jesus, one man would die to save the nation, but more than that, one man would die to save the world. It says that right here, verse 53, chapter 11. So from that day, it says before that, he would die for the nation. And then from that day, they put in place a plan to make sure Jesus dies. I'm going to start with 54. Jesus, therefore, no longer walked about openly among the Jews, but went from there to a town called Ephraim, in the region near the wilderness, and he remained there with his disciples. So now Jesus is, on the hit list of the Pharisees. He goes down from Bethany, he goes down towards Jericho, and before he gets there, there's a town in the wilderness out there called Ephraim, and he stays there. And it's remembered now, there's villages there that I've been to, some of you have been there with me, this town where Jesus was during this in-between time after the raising of Lazarus and before he comes in to Jerusalem on Palm Sunday. So this is where he went, and he remained with his disciples. Now, the Passover of the Jews, and here we go, Palm Sunday coming up. Now the Passover of the Jews was near, and many went up from the country to Jerusalem before the Passover to purify themselves. Up. Remember, Jerusalem's on a hill. Wherever you are coming from, you're going up. So Jesus is going up from Ephraim to Jerusalem, and they go to purify themselves. They're gonna become impure on the trip, so they go to the pools of Bethsaida there, and if they're Essenes, and many of the disciples, we believe, had that Essene predisposition. Lazarus was more within the Pharisee camp. They came to purify themselves, verse 56. And they were looking for Jesus, and they were asking one another, as they stood in the temple, "What do you think? Surely he will not come to the festival, will he?" Why wouldn't he come? Because they put out a hit on him. Now the chief priests and the Pharisees had given order that anyone who knew where Jesus was should let them know so they might arrest him. So that's it. So Jesus, he knows his time is up. He could have gone anywhere. He could have just gone back up to Galilee, frankly. He could have gone to Bethania. He could have gone anywhere in the world. But he goes back to Jerusalem for the Passover. Let's read on. Chapter 12. So 6 days before the Passover, Jesus came to Bethany, the home of Lazarus, whom he had raised from the dead. So he comes back up there to see his friend Lazarus. And they gave a dinner for him. Martha served, and Lazarus was one of those at the table with him. See, this is so deeply touching, right? I can only imagine that Lazarus is more vital and more robust than he's ever been, right? I mean, I can imagine Lazarus was maybe a little bit sickly, maybe one of the strongest guy around. Sisters, as we know, Mary and Martha were powerful, intellectually Mary, physically and managerially Martha. They sort of ran the show, took care of their brother, took care of their dad, who was a leper, right? And all of a sudden, Lazarus, who before was sort of maybe an afterthought, though Jesus loved him, go figure. He's at the table. He's right there. And they're having a party. Who wouldn't, right? Jesus is back, raised him from the dead. Think for a minute they were afraid that the Pharisees would come pounding on their door and taking Jesus away? Do you think that concerned them for even 1 minute? Hardly a second. Why? Jesus, most amazing, powerful person to ever live, healed the blind, raised the dead? Really? Rome stopping Jesus? Not a chance. They're having a party, and they're not hiding it from anyone. Mary then takes a pound of costly perfume made of pure nard and anoints Jesus' feet and wipes them with her hair, and the house is filled with the fragrance of the perfume. What a gift. He's walked, he's tired, and she not only washes his feet, but she washes it with a costly perfume, and the fragrance fills the house. It's such a generous thing to do. Humble, honoring a person, giving wildly. Right? Imagine if somebody walks into your house and you give them your Mercedes Benz. I mean, that's sort of the equivalent, right? You give them something of a very huge amount of money, and that's what Mary does, because she loves Jesus. So I ask you this: when have you done something wildly extravagant for somebody else? Or when has somebody done something wildly extravagant for you? And let me tack on a piece to that. God has done something wildly extravagant for you. He's given you this world. He's given you your life and your brain, and your body, and your community. God has done something wildly extravagant for you. Give that some thought. I love you. Pray for you. Peace upon your souls.